What is going on? Charles Botensten here. Going to make sure that nobody can call me, put that on airplane mode. So essentially, I'm going to be talking about validating everything in our life, and we're essentially seeking validation. So let's just go over the story of validation first. The story of validation is when, in the animal kingdom, most animals are self-sufficient within a couple of weeks, almost immediately. What's going on, Erwin? So essentially, everyone in the animal kingdom is self-sufficient almost immediately at a birth. They come out of the womb, and you have, you look at the savannah, and within a couple of hours, you're going to have a giraffe standing. In other words, they don't. What's going on, Chris? How we doing? We got the party started. We got that keg stand going. All right, Erwin's going for the record. Brings me back to the college years. That was just a bad time. Glad there was no social media around at that time. Probably wouldn't have a job. But essentially, in the animal kingdom, and the reason that we're so smart and we are at the apex of the animal kingdom is because of the prefrontal cortex. And the reason that we have the prefrontal cortex, that's essentially that we have the ability to be aware of awareness. Okay, we have, we could think into the future, we could think into past, which is good and it's bad. Okay, this developed to last. However, our brains keep on growing. So we're really, as a baby, if we come out of the womb, we are not self-sufficient. Okay, we need people to care for us and make sure that we don't die and are fed and everything else. So, what does that have to do with everything? That has everything to do with validation, okay? So when you come out of the womb, you're essentially looking for validation on what, I'm bringing the keg now, you're essentially looking for validation in your life, okay? Validation so you can get food. If you cry, you'll get attention or love or a hug. If you cry, maybe you'll get food or milk or water or comfort or clothing, or if you're overheated, they'll take off a hat or put you in a cooler space or the shade or something else. In other words, you're always looking to someone else for the first, say, 3 years of your life. Okay, and there was a quote, I forgot who it was, said that give me someone up until 7 and I will imprint, and obviously I'm butchering the quote, but essentially up to age 7, they can imprint exactly the personality they want. Okay, and everyone knew that through the course of time, whether it was religious leaders, whether it was government, whether it was parents or anything else, is that the first 7 years is everything. And during those first 7 years, you're only looking to the outside world for validation. You're only looking for how do I interact with this world? Okay, so I've actually extended this thought a little bit further, which is from 0 to 10, you're essentially seeing how do I work in this world, okay? And then 10 to 20, age 10 to 20, you're essentially saying, how do I fit into this world? Those are the years of your personality has already pretty much developed from 0 to 10. It's really hard to change your personality. You could change your personal reality, which obviously goes into, everything is in your subconscious mind. One of the hardest is not validation or prospecting. So that's the thing, okay? And we'll get to that. So from 10 to 20, you're essentially, how do I fit into this world? How's my clothing? Am I cool? Do girls like me? Do guys like me? Do I make money? How am I interacting in the world? Then from 20 to 30, you're saying, okay, how do I take control of my life? That's essentially the first time you're really on your own. And then from 30 to 40, you're saying, okay, how do I build on that? Okay, your 30s are the most important thing. There is a quote in this amazing book that says, and I've talked about it before, which is there is essentially no man, and obviously in man that means mankind, men and women. He says, why seldomly have any success before the age of 40? And he says, I've discovered from an analysis of 25,000 people that men who succeeded in an outstanding way do so before the age of 40, or seldomly do that before the age of 40. And the reason being is that exactly what I just talked about. You just start to not care. Okay? So essentially, if you want to talk about validation, you look for validation in your mind for your fears. So if you have a fear of something, think of something. Okay? It could be prospecting. Could be asking for a new business. It could be approaching that pretty girl. You essentially look for validation. Okay? Validation to validate your fear of not doing it. That could be, I'm too tired. I will do it tomorrow. She looks like she's busy. She has headphones in, or they don't want to talk to me if I'm doing a sales call. You're essentially validating the fear, okay? This also works on another way, which is giving you permission to actually do what you want to do, okay? So you have the validation to validate your fear. You have a fear, you're not doing it, so you'll essentially pile in all these validating things. I don't have enough information, I don't know what to say, I don't have the script. One thing that I've recently, holding on to my middle school identity is, yeah, exactly. So I'm reading the new book that I didn't even know Eckhart Tolle came out with a new book, but the first 2 to 3 pages was just like, it was the head explosion emoji. And that's essentially what I'm getting to. So and I'll talk about that in a second. You wait. So you have the fear, and then you pile on all these things to validate the fear. Why? So you can feel better about yourself. You don't want to make yourself feel bad. You'll beat yourself up other ways, but you'll validate the fears with all of these excuses. Here's the kicker. When you're actually ready to make the call or approach that pretty girl or start the business or do one of those fears, you are now looking for permission. You're seeking validation. Do you understand how crazy that is? So when you have a fear, you are piling in the reason you don't want to do it, okay? But when you're ready, when the student is ready, and they say enough is enough, when they are sick and tired of being sick and tired, they now seek permission. Gary Vaynerchuk gets this question all the time when I used to watch his videos. In Q&A, they would say things like, should I? And obviously, just go, I think it's called Stillness or the Power of Silence or something like that. Just look it up on Amazon. So, and I'll talk about that in a second. So essentially, when you are ready, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, that could be being overweight, being broke, having debt, not having the love life you want, not having the money you want, not having the love or the stillness, and I'll get to that in a second, is the power of the mental capacity. When you are ready to go after what you have been fearing, you are now looking for the permission. How crazy is that? You remove all of the excuses and now you're seeking validation. And this is the kicker. It goes to Eckhart Tolle's book. And in the first paragraph, he goes, as a spiritual teacher, no one should be telling you what to do. No one should be telling you this is how to do stillness or to release yourself, from your ego. Nobody can tell you what to do. It's already inside of you. You just have to release the fear or release the outcome or release the expectations of what you want. Your expectation is, I walk up to this girl, it goes amazing, and she gives me her number and she's in love with me. What kind of fucking expectation is that? When is that gonna happen? Okay, I approached this pretty girl yesterday, very into me. She's like, well, unfortunately, I would give you my number, but I have a boyfriend, whatever. I came from such an abundance mindset, and I do that all the time. And it was public. Her friend was right there. There was people right behind me, strangers right behind me. And I told her, I'm like, listen, I'm not online. You're not gonna find me. You're not gonna swipe right. And this is how I talk to people. Let's grab a lunch one time. Let's go to Bryant Park and we'll people watch. It'll be fun. And that's the thing, is that it was always inside of me. It is inside of you. So instead of seeking the validation when you're ready, or instead of piling on the excuses to validate your fear, it's already there. So you're essentially, you don't need to seek validation and you don't need to add to your validation. You essentially need to break away from your validation. How do you actually do that? That's the question. So first of all is the awareness. The awareness is everything, okay? And before I actually just go on a complete tangent, and this video goes for hours, the first is that you are aware of what you're doing incorrectly, okay? And I don't like that word. I always write needs improvement. If you look at any of my Instagram posts and it says the good of my training and the needs improvement or needs work. I never say the good and the bad, okay? Because if you say bad, that means I may not be able to change this. But if you say I can improve this or this area needs work, so essentially the awareness. So when you're scrolling through Instagram and you say, I should actually be making calls or sending out that email or listing a new property, that awareness is good. Whether you do something or not is different, but that awareness is good. When your alarm goes off and you're not getting out of bed and you're ready to snooze your alarm and you're just validating the fears of saying, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm tired. I'm sore. I don't feel like running. Those were all today. My alarm went off at 4:45. I didn't want to go running. I had a 2 hour and 40-minute run. It was 21 miles on Sunday. My legs were still a little bit sore. I have a race on Sunday in Atlantic City. So I had all the excuses. This is known as taper week. And taper week, you have a lot of these hydration pills, noon hydration, which essentially is electrolytes. I had all the excuses. But in that time, I said, okay, that awareness of saying, okay, I am validating my fear or my willingness to not do it right now. So first is the awareness. The second is, which is so hard to do, which is so hard. The second step is literally the hardest, is releasing, as Eckhart Tolle says in the book, which is, I'm not giving you anything, okay? I'm not providing you any detailed explanation of what to do. I am essentially saying it's in you. You need to just release yourself from it. You need to just break away from the shell of an ego. So in other words, when you're making a call or you're approaching someone or you want something, you essentially have an outcome in mind. When I was approaching that pretty girl at Chopped yesterday, my outcome was that I really wanted it to happen, but if it didn't happen, I really didn't care. And it's such a balance. She can see that I am poignant in asking her to go out, but she also understands this guy's not desperate. He doesn't care about the answer, and he hopes he gets the answer, but he doesn't really care. That, my friends, is known as breaking yourself away from the outcome. You're essentially looking at the process of approaching, making calls, starting a business, listing a new apartment, whatever your fear is, waking up. You're just saying, and this has happened, but don't you get to expect, believe things, but don't you need to expect or believe things? Yes, that's the teeter. If you go and you say, I expect it to go this way, people smell that. In real estate, that's known as commission breath. That means that you only expect it to go the way you want it, and if it doesn't, you're mad. You're pissed. I'm never making calls again. That person hung up on me. That girl rejected me. I'm never talking to a girl again. It didn't go the way I wanted it. But if you have the conviction that you want it, but also the understanding that if it doesn't work out, you have no control over that. I had no control over what she said. I have no control when I call owners. I have no control. So essentially you're focusing on the process and not the outcome. The process of approaching the girl, doing the best you can, and there's teams all the time that if there's a quarterback that has an amazing game, but at the end of the game, the kicker misses the field goal, he has no control over that. And they lost the game. He has no control of that. But he played the best he can. That's the best example I can give, is that he showed up, played the best he can, the kicker missed the field goal, they lost the game. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You can't kick. It's the same thing. You can't control if she has a boyfriend, if she's into you, you're her type, or you are her type and she is your type. Or the owner doesn't want to list with you, or they want to list with someone else, or they don't want to list at all for real estate. That's the outcome. So most people have their ego. Read the book, A Beautiful New Earth, I think it is, or whatever it is, A Whole New Earth or whatever by Eckhart Tolle, and it just decimates your ego. And it just says how much we are, it's what people think of us, it's how many likes we get on a post, how many followers we have, how we look, how we dress, the compliments we get. Do you understand that we are having expectations and validations on the outcome of other people at all times? We need the permission from other people on the way that we are. Do you understand? That's insane. That's ego. That is relying on the outside. But if your process is, I understand that I'm on Instagram scrolling when I shouldn't be. I understand I'm still in bed when I should be out of bed. I understand that I'm checking emails instead of making calls. I understand that I'm online and not talking to the girl to my right when I should be talking to her. The awareness is the first. Because if you're not even aware, you can't change. What are you going to change? You're like, she's there. I'm not going to talk to her. Okay? So the first is that. The second is the process. Hi, if it's a girl. Putting your legs on the ground and saying, what a beautiful day. At one time, you're not going to be able to. You're going to be bedridden, and then soon after, you're going to be dead. Okay? That's something to think about. If it's making a call, dial. Maybe it'll go to voicemail. Maybe it'll be busy. Maybe they don't pick up. Maybe they do pick up. You have no control of the outcome. It's the process. That's it for today. I can tell you right now that the awareness is the first step that could potentially take you years to overcome. It has taken me years to overcome. And then once you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you then look to, how do I actually get business? How do I make the calls? What do I say? What is the system I use? What is the CRM? What is the power dialer? What is the actual office? What is the environment that I want? And then most people still seek the permission to make the call. But the process goes from stop validating your fears with excuses. You then, which is awareness, you then try, because it's going to be difficult. It's not a trajectory of that. It's a trajectory of this. And then most people stop. Some people continue on. Most people stop. Some people continue on. Most people stop. Some people can. By the time you get to this percentage, that's why this book said, seldomly did you have anyone, and he gave examples, crazy examples of people that had no success before 80. He's talking about all these people, Edgar Allan Poe. He's talking about, you're probably not going to know the other ones, Lang's, he goes even, the Model T Ford was Ford's like one of his last cars after 40 years old. So essentially what I'm saying is you're outlasting people as you're doing this. But the trajectory, if you actually connected the dots, is like that. But the line is not like that. So you're essentially going like this, and then there's very few people right here. Very, very few. And when you get here, you look across and you say, holy cow, look at all those people that quit. And then you start actually believing, I'm actually pretty good at real estate. Or girls actually like me. Or waking up at 5 a.m. is who I am. And then as James Clear, I don't have the book with me, but as James Clear says, it becomes your identity. And when it becomes your identity, you live into your identity day to day, in a good and a bad way. Oh, I'm not that type of person. I don't approach people. I don't wake up early. I don't go to the gym. I don't make calls. I don't start businesses. I'm not wealthy. I don't have loving relationships. I only date losers. I only date people that treat me like shit. People run over me all the time. That's an identity, and you live into it because your ego wants you to. Your ego doesn't want change, okay? Your capital S self is essentially removing everything. It's the core identity. That person that is online, doesn't he know 40 successive trends? Yes, exactly. So essentially, if you're a male, I think it's the same if you're a female. I don't know. I'm obviously not a female. But if you do not just go a week of not twiddle-dallying with your hey you doing down there, stop doing that, okay? When you stop doing that, you'll get real clear. You'll get real bold, okay? It's amazing. And he talks about it here. So essentially when you're in your 20s, you put that all towards women. Sex transmutation, you're putting that all towards women, okay? You're putting that all towards activities, maybe sports and things like that. When you get older, you start saying, I want to build wealth. I want to build resources. I want to be independent. I want to be self-sufficient. And then you start putting all of that energy towards business, bettering yourself, the gym, making yourself healthy. And God, I'm telling you, if you do that day to day, it's amazing. Sales is not a contact sport. It's a consistent contact sport. It is a consistent. It's a day in, it's a day out. Apple's launching a product. That's weird. Guess what they'll do today? Today or tomorrow? Or yesterday? I don't know. This is what they'll do. We have an exclusive invite only to the top influencers. You could bring your cameras, you can vlog it, you can do everything you want. And it's gonna be on Tuesday, September 10th, okay? And guess what? We're gonna launch a new iPhone. It's gonna come out or you can order on Friday. It's gonna come out and delivered on the 24th of September. So it launches today, and you could pre-order on Friday. And then you'll receive it the 24th. Weird. That's weird. Wonder why Apple does that. Because it works. Because it works. The biggest thing in this world, and this is the last thing I'll leave you on, the biggest thing in this world is not actually eating the pizza. It is not actually the playing with yourself or masturbation. It is not actually porn. It is not actually alcohol. It is the anticipation of that. The anticipation of receiving something. It is the anticipation of the closing check. The anticipation of the closing check is way better than me taking the check, which is a pain in my ass, and delivering it to the bank. The anticipation is what people care about. Apple knew that. Social scientists know that. So understand that. It's the anticipation of actually doing the calls, waking up, approaching the pretty girl that nobody wants to do. But once you're involved, it's actually not that bad. Actually running, actually talking to her, actually on the phone with the prospect, it's really not that bad. It's the anticipation that sucks. That's why it's the process. It's not the outcome. We're expecting the outcome to go shitty. That's why we have the expectations that we don't want to do it, and that's why we don't do it. That's a habit in of itself. All right? Make it your identity over time. As the Blue Angels said, they said 53 times is better. The amount of times you do something is better than the duration or the intensity of something. How many times, the frequency that you actually do it is better than any other habit by far that you can ever put into your life. Is how often do you do it? Is it now and then next year, or is it now, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday? That frequency, 53 days, it will slowly become part of your identity, and then you won't even think about it. Have an amazing week. Any questions, leave in the comments below. Talk to you guys soon.